Ondas. Nobody's talking about Ondas or ONDS stock ticker. But that doesn't mean nobody's watching it either. Because while everybody's focused on AI or NVIDIA and big tech, something much bigger is happening in the background, and it's happening fast. Let's start with what just happened last night. What you need to know. Oil tanker got hit in Kuwait. The Kuwait oil tanker was hit. Which concerns gas prices. Cost per gallon's up to $4. Iran strikes on Israel.
President Trump threatening widespread destruction of Iran's energy resources, saying the U.S. will attack Iranian power and water treatment plants unless it opens the Strait of Hormuz soon. But he also says the U.S. is, quote, in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran.
So this isn't theory. You have the Strait of Hormuz here. This isn't speculation, it's a real world conflict impacting global oil supply. As 20% of the entire oil supply in the world is shipped through the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Shipping routes, this is a real world conflict impacting global oil supply, shipping routes and stability in one of the most important regions on Earth. And here's why that matters. Because 20% of the world's oil flows through this region. So when something like this happens, oil spikes. So let's see, price for oil is at $1.01 today, which is reasonably okay for the last 5 days, as oil has increased over 30 days here. Excuse me. 5 days, the oil has increased from 90 to 100. Most of the market's back up today. The Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell 2000. Stocks have seen more green today. NVIDIA is back up 5%, AVGO 5%, Microsoft's up 3%, Apple's at 3%. And then you have your consumer cyclicals, Amazon's up 4%, Tesla's up 5%. Communication services, Google and Meta, both up 5, 6, 7%. Most of the market is green as energy actually has declined. ExxonMobil down 2%, Chevron down 3%. So when something like this happens, oil spikes and markets react. Uncertainty rises. We're already seeing oil pushing higher, volatility increasing, and capital moving towards defense and security. Because in times like this, the world doesn't slow down as it adapts. So that's exactly where ONDS comes in. You can see ONDS has actually had a good day today. Is rose 9% up to $8.81. Let's look at the earnings per share. It's at a negative 40 cents, which means despite surging sales, the company remains at a loss with adjusted EBITDA losses expected to widen in the early 26 due to aggressive hiring and marketing investments, probably a lot of research and R&D too, consolidated company-wide profitability is not currently targeted in the first quarter 2028. High validity in beta. The stock exhibits extreme validity with a beta exceeding 5.0, leading to sharp price swings that often decouple with fundamental updates. Technical indicators and recent price action suggest the market may have already priced in much of the positive forward guidance, leading to potential sideways movement. Now, the bullish. Ondas recently climbed after reporting record fourth quarter revenue and a massive upward revision of the 2026 guidance. Analysts project a hyper growth trajectory driven by defense contracts and strategic acquisitions, although sentiment suggests caution regarding near-term profitability and persistent stock validity following a significant capital raise. So revenue increased significantly in 2026 to $375 million. The revision is supported by $70 million backlog and rapid scaling, which saw 722% year-over-year revenue growth in the most recent quarter, which is crazy. I think revenue in 2025 was 30 million or something like that, and it rose to 375 million. Strategic M&A partnerships. The company announced a definitive agreement to acquire Worldview Enterprises, a $175 million deal for defense prime Mistral. Furthermore, an expanded partnership with Palantir to integrate AI into autonomous platforms is expected to accelerate government contract wins and recurring service revenue. So that's interesting. If they actually are going to be hired by Palantir, you're going to get a contract, and how much is that contract going to be? So Ondas, that's exactly where ONDS or Ondas comes in. Ondas Holdings is positioned in drone technology, defense infrastructure, Ondas autonomous systems, which are closed loop systems for autonomous drone operations featuring the Optimus system 24/7, AI driven security and data collection. And this is their drones, Aerobotics, American Robotics, the Iron Drone. So on a closed loop system, all of these drones are working together in one system. Each drone doesn't have its own connection, which is great during a military conflict. Kinds of systems that become more valuable when the world becomes less stable. Why nobody's talking about ONDS. This is the interesting part. You won't see it on CNBC, on major YouTube channels or dominating headlines, because it's still early. It's a smaller company developing and still proving itself. And most investors don't look at companies like this until after they've already moved. So this is where most people get it wrong. They wait for the headlines, they wait for confirmation, big price moves. But by the time all that happens, the easy opportunity is gone, because early stage companies don't look obvious, they look uncertain. And while retail investors are focusing on what's already working, this is the type of setup that tends to attract early patient capital. Not because it's safe, but because it's early. Because in markets like this, being early matters more than being comfortable. We've seen this exact pattern before. Companies like Anduril, transforming defense. Here is the Anduril drone that looks more like an airplane. Let's see if we can see it for a second here. That's them testing the engine. It's an unmanned aircraft. Anduril and Kraken Robotics, which builds undersea batteries, as well as LiDAR for under the ocean, underwater mapping. Let's see. The Catfish toward SASA sea power batteries for drones under the water. And they also have the Kraken SAS sonar. So these companies started the same way. They were quiet, followed, building in the background until suddenly the world realized how important their technology actually was. So now let's look at the environment we're in. Rising geopolitical tension, attacks on energy infrastructure, increasing demand for surveillance and automation, there's a missile strike here in CBS News.
Are eager to negotiate an end to the war.
This is exactly the type of environment. Rising geopolitical tension, attacks on energy infrastructure, and increasing demand on surveillance and automation. And that's where companies like ONDS become relevant very quickly, because when instability rises, demand for control, visibility, and protection rises with it. So what would actually change everything for ONDS? A few things. A major government contract, large-scale deployment, and a strategic partnership. Because once one of those hits, this doesn't stay hidden anymore. The company doesn't stay hidden as a hidden company. It becomes a story. Now let's be real for a second. This is not guaranteed. ONDS is a small cap company, still developing and likely volatile. And the stock could move fast. Here it is at $8.93. You can see what happened between yesterday and today. It's already rose 10% from yesterday, up almost $1. So these are the types of setups that people look for. I wish I saw it earlier, but because of time and employees, everybody's talking about it's no longer early. So if you're looking for opportunities before they become obvious, please subscribe. That's what this channel is all about. See you in the next one.